Hello everyone, my name is Kelvin. In this talk, I'll be sharing some information about coral reefs, why they matter, and how scuba diving can affect them. I'll also discuss a study about diver impacts and some strategies to help protect this beautiful underwater ecosystem. Let's get started with a bit of background on coral reefs. Coral reefs are among the most diverse ecosystems on Earth, even though they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor. Unfortunately, they are threatened by many things, including climate change, pollution, and too much tourism. Scuba diving is a wonderful way to explore reefs, but if divers are not careful, they can accidentally damage these fragile corals. So the way divers behave underwater plays a big role in coral reef conservation. Coral reefs are extremely important. They act like natural breakwaters, protecting shorelines from erosion and storm waves. Reefs also support local economies. They provide fish for food and income, and they attract tourists from around the world with their beauty and marine life. If coral reefs are lost, not only would ocean wildlife suffer, but so would the coastal communities that depend on them. When people go scuba diving on a reef, they usually mean no harm, but even a gentle touch can hurt corals. Divers might accidentally bump into corals with their hands or fins, which can break coral or rub off its protective coating. Most of these accidents happen at the beginning of a dive, when divers are still getting used to the water and adjusting their equipment. Even experienced divers can accidentally cause damage if they are not careful. Many marine parks and dive operators use a few strategies to protect reefs. One is to limit the number of divers or restrict certain areas so that fragile spots get less traffic. Another is to ban divers from wearing gloves or carrying sticks, since without them, people are less likely to touch or poke the reef. Some sites even set up underwater trails or ropes to guide divers away from delicate areas, but these methods only work if everyone follows the rules. Greenfins is a sustainable diving program supported by the United Nations that works with dive shops. It provides a 15-point code of conduct to minimize damage to the environment. This code includes giving thorough pre-dive briefings and enforcing a strict no-touch policy, which dive guides leading by example. When dive shops following the Green Fins guidelines, their customers become more aware and cause much less harm to the reef. A scientific study in the Philippines set out to see how scuba divers affect coral reefs. The researchers wanted to compare reefs where dive operators follow the Green Fins guidelines closely with reefs where those guidelines weren't in place. They also looked at how important dive guides are in preventing damage. Overall, the study aimed to identify which practice and conditions lead to better protection of the reefs. In this map, shows where the 30 reef sites in the study are located across the Philippines. The sites were spread across 3 different regions to cover a wide range of conditions, from very busy reefs to more remote ones. From 2012 to 2014, the team observed 100 scuba divers at those 30 sites and recorded every time someone touched the reef, whether it was with a hand, fin, knee, or a piece of equipment like a camera. They also noted when a dive guide intervened to stop a diver from touching coral by comparing with species dive size to quarter 1. The researchers could see how diver behavior different under different levels of diving pressure. One chart looked at when and how divers made contact with the reefs. It showed that many contacts happen in the early part of a dive. It also showed what caused the contact. Most were caused by divers' fins or hands. Divers using large cameras had a lot of contacts too, likely because carrying a camera made them less aware of their surroundings. In this chart, compare the types of surface touched and whether they were damaged. It shows that touching live coral was much more likely to cause visible damage than touching rock or sand. The study reveals some clear patterns. Nearly 88% of the divers observed touched the reef at least once during their dive, and an average each diver made about 5 to 6 contacts. About a quarter of those touches caused visible damage to the reef. Most of these incidents occurred in the early part of the dive, when divers were still getting comfortable in the water. In this graph illustrates how the number of contacts changed during a dive. Divers touch the reef most often at the very beginning of the dive, and then such incidents become less frequent later on. Similarly, dive guides didn't most of their interventions early in the dive when divers need the most help. The study found out what caused most of the reef damage. The most common cause were divers' fins or hands accidentally hitting the coral. The worst impacts come from divers using cameras. These camera users account for over half of all contacts observed, and from those who accidentally kneel on the reef. This shows that caring about equipment like a big camera can reduce a diver's awareness of their surroundings, leading to more accidental bumps into coral. Supervision by dive guides was very important. In smaller dive groups, guides could watch everyone closely and step in quickly when someone got too near the coral, resulting in fewer harmful contacts. When guides were proactive and informative, divers could less damage to the reef. At sites where green fins guidelines were followed closely, divers made about 50% fewer contacts with the reef compared to sites that didn't follow these guidelines. Guides help about the same in both places. This means divers at green fin sites were just more careful. They were likely better educated and more aware of reef protection. The study had a few key points. Having more diving experiments didn't always mean better behavior, and using gear like matchstick and often led to more reef contact. But strong leadership from guides and good pre-dive briefings really helped. In the end, a diver's altitude and awareness matter more than their skill level when it comes to protecting the reef. Practical recommendations include giving better pre-dive briefings, promoting wider adoption of programs like green fins with strict no-touch policies, limiting the number of divers in very fragile reef areas, and training dive guides to actively prevent harmful behavior underwater. Following this step can greatly reduce the negative impact of scuba diving on coral reefs. In conclusion, we can enjoy scuba diving and still protect coral reefs if we all dive responsibly. Sustainable diving is achievable, and programs like Green Fins show that following best practice can make a big difference. The key is education, commitment, and consistency, making reef protection a normal part of every dive. If we do that, this beautiful rainforest of the sea will survive and reefs should stay alive and beautiful for the next generation to see. Thank you all for listening to my presentation.
And can you talk about this page again, because I didn't read it clearly before.
Okay, so this picture shows that carrying more equipment, like big camera, can reduce a diver's awareness of their surroundings. So if the divers they have less equipment, they will more protect the reef.
Okay, thank you.
And can you explain this chart again? I mean, what is the x-axis and the y-axis?
So in the x-axis is saying the divers are more pay attention to the green things program, and in the right one is they pay high attention, and the left one is low. Okay, and the y-axis is saying the number they touch the reef.
Okay, thank you.
Can you repeat your purpose and conclusion? Because I just got in when you about to finish.
The conclusion is we can enjoy scuba diving and still protect coral reef if we all dive responsible. So the key is education, commitment, and consistency.
Okay, thank you.
Did you know any assessed sustainable diving in Taiwan? For example?
Continue.
Oh, continue. Okay, thank you.
He has given the talk smoothly. However, you see the main issue is you were really presenting all the time like this. Considering your height, you are a tall guy, big guy. So it's actually not that decent to present like this. It would be great if you can present like what I'm doing now, next time. The second thing is you can take a look of your slides. It's uninteresting, not interesting, because except for the figures from the paper, you add nothing else, no image at all. It's uninteresting, not interesting. But you can find a lot of image like some scuba diver touching corals. I'm sure you can find this kind of photos from the internet. All you have to do is open your Chrome, Google image, diver touching coral. I'm sure you can find a lot of image. I hope that next time you can add some image to enrich your slides. The good thing of your slides is for all of your slides, you keep your sentence very short. It's nice. So it's easy to read, and you have these large fonts. These are all nice. But I still hope that next time you can maybe color some keywords. For example, if you have some number, like in your results and conclusion, you always have this like 50%. That would be your like a 50% here. That would be something you should use color, use a different color to highlight it. Because you were presenting all the time like this, you didn't use your mouse at all, not at all. I hope you can use your mouse, telling us you are talking about this point, this point, this point, and this point. Next time. Come to your results. Next time, when you want to show a figure like this, you have to be aware that location name like this, and this has no meaning to us. We don't know where it is. The only thing that will make any meaning is you make your map this large, okay? And tell us, this is Puerto Galera, this is another island in the middle of Philippines, and this is another island. Maybe to help us, you can also tell us where is Manila, in Philippines. Maybe it's somewhere here, I don't know. Okay, to help us. The same issue apply to all your results figure where your figure is so small, I can't read it at all. I can't read what is the x-axis and y-axis, but the next time you have to do is you keep this higher, maybe this high, you use another background maybe. You don't need this. All you need to do is make this large, really large, okay? The larger, the better. You have to think about Yuki's question. She asked, what is your x-axis? What is your y-axis? Next time, you tell us, for each graph, the x-axis is this. The y-axis is this. The size of the circle means this. That's all you need to do. There's it's a formula. 就是它是有一个固定的公式。X-axis, y-axis, legend. Then you tell us, look at this, how does the data distribute? And at the end, you tell us what is the key message you want to say. The way you present it is always, you just show the figure, you expect them to read the figure automatically, and then you start to say what is the meaning of the figure. That's not right. You have to enlarge it, explain the axis, and then tell us the meaning. Follow this formula, then you are fine. So the same for page 10, page 11, and, page 11, page 13, and 14. Just before they ask you about page 14. So you have to remember their question. Then you have some slides like this one. It's a little bit like you discuss the data, right? And 12 and 15 is you discuss your data. However, we don't know this data, like 88% from which figure? Can you tell us from which figure? Is it from any of the figure here? Is any of these from the figure? Can you tell me? No? Okay, so it's just in the text. Okay. Then the next time you have to do is you have to, right after the figure, you need to tell us what's the main meaning of the figure in the figure. And you maybe just print a short sentence here and print a short sentence here. Okay? And then I know you discussed your figure, and then this will be additional discussion. Because I was thinking whether these are from the figure or not. And the same for these two. 17. Maybe you have to tell us what is this with a photo, maybe. I don't know what is that. Okay. Maybe you are a diver, but I'm not familiar with that. Add a photo. Comes to your final part. Here you say a lot, but your line, the oral part, spoken part, doesn't match your text. So I don't know which point you are talking about. You have to use your mouse to show, okay, I'm talking about this point, this point, this point, and this point. That's all you need to do. Conclusion. This is very general, too general, okay? I hope next time you can tell us if you say this one is an important message, like people paying more attention to the greenfin program, they cause less damage to the coral, then you have to say specifically on that. You have to be very specific. That is a conclusion. Conclusion should not be too general, okay, based on the data you presented. Okay, I hope to see your improvement next time. Thank you, Kevin.